So far I've been Mrs. Nice Guy, but now the gloves are coming off. For starters, I shall try to get a disbarment of lawyers in this case who have been guilty of unethical practices. As you may know, the state licenses persons to be able to work as attorneys, and if they lose that license, well, they have to get another kind of a job. One person I noticed in the newspaper, a district attorney, I can't remember his name, but it would be easy for me to go find it. He said that Troy Davis has been, listen to this now, just listen to this, using the media. Have you ever heard of any method other than the media using us? He has been manipulating the legal system. Isn't it in fact the case against him that the legal system has been unmanipulatable? And this same district attorney, in piling up the the sentiment against this man, has emphasized the rights of the family of the victim. But actually, Troy's family also emphasizes that Officer Mark McPhail, who died at the age of 27, leaving 2 children without a dad, they are the first and real victim in the case, and therefore wouldn't it be excellent to find the real killer? They quote the mother, I think it's the mother of the deceased rather than the wife, but I'm not sure. They quote her in the paper as saying that she wants this execution to happen, and it will sort of bring an end to her turmoil. But, well, I'm a widow myself, I can tell you. I don't think I would feel any the happier had my husband been killed and then someone is killed for him if there's a lot of controversy about the guilt thereof. And there have also been statements supposedly by that other family saying, we know he did it. I'm not sure at all how they will know that, because originally their knowledge of it came from those famous witnesses that now say they were coerced. Oh, and of course we must look immediately into their coercion. Why? Why did our police department or someone else squeeze those witnesses to say that they named Troy and not someone else as the killer? I note that when squeezing people to say something, they are, of course, practicing obstruction of justice. But more than that, it makes you wonder, what's the motive? Now, newspapers often tell us the motive for something, and they would say, as they say in so many of the cases where a police officer died, his fellow policeman needed to get an arrest. That really does not make sense. I think his fellow policeman would like to do the right thing. Though I note that Mrs. Martina, the sister of Troy, says that the night was the time when this shooting occurred, and the next morning, because her brother heard on the radio that he was a wanted man, he went in voluntarily, and then a scene was made, a staged, scripted media thing, where they showed cops capturing him. Why would cops participate in that, as they often do? So, as I was saying about the gloves, they're off, and now I want to bring up the similarities of the case of Troy Davis and Brian Nichols, which is going on in Atlanta right now. I hope I've been a bit ambiguous about my knowledge of Troy's case. It isn't sufficient at all, but my knowledge of the Brian Nichols case is really good. It's like complete. You can rely on me. I have followed it in every detail for 3.5 years. The Brian Nichols case, in which he supposedly killed a judge, David Wilhelm, the Drug Enforcement Agency officer, and a couple of others, is a farce. It is a farce from start to beginning. No, it can't be start to beginning. Beginning to end. Well, anyway, it hasn't ended yet, but it is a farce. Why do I say that? David Wilhelm was, I think, age 44, a very dedicated cop, but of course his cop section was federal and was taken in under the Homeland Security rearrangements there around 2003. And he was known as opposing the importation of drugs. That's like his job, right? But as you may or may not know, but I'm saying it very clearly here, and it's not ambiguous either, just look up the congressional hearings between Maxine Waters and Gary Webb back in the early 90s, I think. Our government does a lot of the importing of illegal drugs. So I can see that Mr. Wilhelm was causing problems. He was being a whistleblower, and he had to be gotten rid of. Indeed, since the gloves are really off here, I note that the day David was killed, on a blog, and I'm sorry I can't track down that blog now, someone said that they had just seen a photo of David Wilhelm the day before, I think, with Michael Chertoff. Then, man is made to die, and it has to be blamed on somebody, so they go through this elaborate story of how Brian Nichols, having done all sorts of things in a courthouse, and then out on the street, and then made his way through 5 carjackings. Please. Then, many hours later, he's found at a home in Atlanta. The home of this just happens to be David Wilhelm. And why did he go into that home when he could have gone into a bar or a theater or whatever? He went in there, they said, now for shelter, but earlier it was said to change vehicles once again, so he could get. And then they said he took the badge off of the man to use later. Like he's the most famous man that day in the world. He's being hunted. He's going to get away with the badge of the DEA. Anyway, Brian Nichols did not kill David Wilhelm. Our government killed David Wilhelm.